Hi guys, it's Cameron from the Mighty Blues. Welcome back today to another live stream. Welcome back to Wednesday's show. Today we're going to be talking about Marco Silva. We're going to be discussing how Marco Silva has done so far as the Everton manager. Obviously 6 months into his reign as Everton manager. Everton currently sitting 11th in the Premier League on the 23rd of January. Not where we would have ideally wanted to be at the start of the season, but there's a lot of things to take into consideration as to why we are where we are. And there's been a lot of stuff on Twitter recently from Evertonians, from, other media sources suggesting that maybe Marco Silva isn't the right man for the job. Now, you all know how I feel personally about this. For me, Marco Silva needs to be given time, and by time, that isn't 6 months. That literally is a block of, 2 to 3 years. He needs about at least four or five transfer windows to sort what was left a mess by Ronald Koeman and Sam Allardyce out. I'm not going to include David Unsworth in there because I don't think he could have done much with it either. But there are a lot of fans that are starting to say, maybe he isn't the right man for the job. Maybe he isn't the right man to take our club forward. And you know what? Opinion's an opinion, and that's why I wanted to talk about it on today's show, because listen, we are a football fan channel, we are an Everton fan channel. This channel is all about opinions, your opinion, not just my opinion. I might sit in front of the camera and provide the content, but it's all about your opinion as well. So I'm not just going to sit here and say I think Marco Silva should stay, so therefore I'm not going to even entertain the people saying that he should go. It's a fan channel, it's about opinion, and I want to know what your guys' opinion is. So if you're all in the live comments, please do leave your opinions on Marco Silva. How do you think he's done so far this season? Are you a little bit, can you understand why we are where we are, and are you sympathising with Marco Silva as to, not being backed in January seemingly, and the fact that there doesn't seem to be a leader on the pitch? Or are you one of them fans that just says, what, I've had enough, he's not the right man, let him leave? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm just going to tweet the stream out just before we go any further, so everybody over on Twitter knows where we are and what we're talking about. It's a big topic, I think, for me, because, listen, I think as soon as Everton go on a bad run of form, you do start to get fans, crawling up saying, is this the right man? He should leave the club, he's not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And that's what I originally thought it was, and I thought, it was maybe just 20%, if that, of Evertonians that had just said, you know what, I'm bored of us losing to stupid teams and not really taking into consideration the situation. But it doesn't seem to be, the more games we go on, and the more poor performances we put in, the more fans I'm seeing in the comment section, the more fans I'm seeing on Twitter saying, listen, he might not be the right man for the job, and here's reasons why. And there are some genuine reasons for that. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say Marco Silva's been absolutely fantastic this season and he's been the best thing since sliced bread, because for me, I have had a couple of issues, but those issues are minor issues and not issues enough to have him sacked in the first 6 months. We'll talk about them later on in the stream. We're talking, substitutions, the constant changing of the two centre-backs. We're talking, the way he set his team up in certain games. But like I said, they are mistakes that he has made and will probably not make again, or at least will learn from them and understand how he, to go about not doing that again. For me, that doesn't warrant saying, get him out the door, he's not good enough. I think, there's a lot of fans that suddenly jump when they've, watched the poor Everton performance, for say, don't get me wrong, I travelled all the way down to Southampton, took the whole day up, left mine at 8 o'clock in the morning, got back at 10 o'clock at night to watch us get absolutely turned over by a team that have just climbed out the relegation zone. I don't think there was many Evertonians as annoyed as me on that day, but I still never once thought he's not the right man for the job. I just thought maybe some of these players aren't actually as good as we think they are. And, looking at this squad, maybe they're not top 4, top 6 players. Maybe they're good footballers, good Premier League footballers, but maybe they're not that good to take the next step, and maybe that's why we are struggling. But like I said, it's a show for the fans, it's a show for you guys. This channel is a fan channel, it's a channel for you, so it's important that we hear your opinions as well, and it's important that we disagree, and that we don't all sit here and say Marco Silva out or Marco Silva in. It's important that some fans say, okay, I see where you're coming from with Silva, but X, Y and Z states that he's not big enough, he's not good enough for the job. And it's important that other fans come and say, well, he needs to be given time because of X, Y and Z. That's what this is all about. Mess says way too toxic on Everton's Twitter. I agree, some of the things you see on Twitter after an Everton defeat are like, okay, there's opinions that you think maybe a bit valid, but then there's some where you just think you need to just put your phone down and go to bed, mate, because you've just let it all get to your head. And I was one of them fans. I was a fan that as soon as we had a poor performance, I was like, leave, sack him, this, that, the other. But once you start to realise that Everton Football Club are sort of made to just let you down and build your hopes up and let you down, you come home, and once you realise there's other things in life that are more important than football, You just have to, put things down and say, okay, I'll think about that in the morning. And a lot of Everton fans then go on to Twitter the next morning and say, actually, maybe you shouldn't, get sacked. Maybe I was a little bit, premature to say that yesterday. Again, my instant match reaction against Southampton, if I'd have done that instant match reaction 5 minutes after the final whistle, I'd have probably ranted and raved for 10 minutes about how X, Y, and Z ain't good enough to be anywhere near this squad. Whereas I waited an hour and I thought, actually, they probably are good enough to be near this squad. They just haven't been in good form at the minute. So it's all about, timing, and I feel like a lot of fans do jump on after the game, jump on after a defeat and just let the feelings known, and that's absolutely fair enough. Don't get me wrong, I really love that, because that's fans getting their voice heard and that's fans getting their emotions out as to what, recently and certainly in certain weeks have been some really, really tough, poor performances for Everton. So I'm not trying to say don't do that, I'm not trying to say don't go on Twitter, don't voice your opinion. I'm just trying to say, I haven't been in that position myself where I've said something on social media and then the next day gone, actually, that was probably just a little bit emotional, a little bit of an emotional talk coming out after a poor result. I've done that a couple of times myself, and I'm not saying stop doing that, don't do it, but like Mess says, I think that the toxicity, I don't know how to say that word, I think the toxicness will go with on Everton's Twitter. Sometimes it is quite vile. Some people saying Seamus Coleman should have his leg broken or whatever because he's not good enough. I think that's just pure, shocking and should never be said. But I think a lot of fans do get quite emotional after Everton games, and it's easy to see why, and I understand that. And I just want to say now, disclaimer, I understand that, how emotions are feeling. Like I said, not many fans are more pissed off than me when we put in a performance like we did last Saturday against Southampton, but it is important that we sit back and we actually think about this, because with the situation with Marco Silva at the minute, it might be very easy to look and go, listen, we're sitting 11th in the Premier League, we've been beaten by Southampton, and we scraped the draw against Newcastle, scraped the draw against Watford, beaten by Brighton, beaten by Leicester, all teams that if you're looking to be in the top 6 or you're looking to be in the top 7, you should be realistically beaten. And we haven't been beaten, so therefore it's not good enough and we need to move on and we need to go and get another manager. But I think if you step back and you go, okay, let's look at the situation. Marco Silva's had one transfer window. He's been in the job 6 months. The transfer window he had ended before the Premier League kicked off, so he wasn't to know that Theo Walcott wasn't going to be on fire like he was the end of last season. He wasn't to know that Cenk Tosun wasn't going to be putting the ball in the back of the net like he was towards the end of last season. He wasn't to know that Seamus Coleman was going to go further downhill. Seamus Coleman's progression this season has been like fucking cool runnings. He's just going that way. But he wasn't to know that, because Seamus Coleman, after he come back from his injury last season against Crystal Palace, had one of the best games of football he's played at Everton. He's an Everton legend and we love him. And I think every Evertonian loves Seamus Coleman, and I love Seamus Coleman. I think he's a wonderful human being and a wonderful footballer, but he's not at that level that we need to take us to the next step. And I think there's a lot of players not at that level that we need to take us to the next step. And the majority of them, if not all of them, have come from other managers and not Marco Silva. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and slag the players off and skit out the players, but if you look at the top 6 teams and you look at the top 4 teams, would Gana Gay, a midfielder who's struggling to pass the ball at the minute, get in Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, City, United's team? Probably not. Would Gylfi Sigurdsson get in any of them teams? At the minute, no. But, it's important that we recognise this and we don't just say it's all Marco Silva's fault, it's his fault, let's all put the blame on him, because that isn't the way we should be looking at things. We should be looking at things as to, what are the issues at our football club? Yes, tactical naivety from the manager, maybe one. Can that be fixed? Yes, it certainly can. Yes, stupid substitutions and changing the back line every 10 minutes is one. Could that be fixed? Yes, I'm going to sit here and say I'm 100% Marco Silva in and I think he needs the time. But like I said, I'm not shutting down anybody that's Marco Silva out, and anybody that brings those opinions to me and says, but what about changing the back four every 2 minutes? I agree. I think that constantly bringing in Mina, then Zuma, then Keane, and chopping and changing them isn't helping anyone, especially after one of them has a bad game and then you take them out the team and say, right, I'm bringing someone else in. It doesn't help anyone. If it's Zuma and Keane, it's Zuma and Keane, and keep it like that for the rest of the season. If Zuma has a bad game, let him play through it. If Keane has a bad game, let him play through it. If it's Keane and Mina, it's Keane and Mina, Zuma and Mina, whatever. We need to keep a solid back four that we know if them players are fit, they play week in, week out. And whether it's Keane, Mina or Zuma, whichever one misses out and sits on the bench, they sit on the bench. We can't play with the way we are at the minute and the situation that we are in, and the fact that we are building a squad and we have come out of a couple of managerial reigns that have been so poor. We cannot afford to just chop and change week in, week out and just bring in a defender here and bring in a defender there, because it totally disrupts the back line. it totally disrupts everything defensively, and it disrupts Jordan Pickford as well, because he doesn't know who's playing in front of him from one week to another. So I think that's a really, really good point from some people that are maybe Marco Silva out saying, well, he shouldn't be changing the team every 2 minutes, keep with the same 11 and then go forward with that. And then after 10, 15 games at the end of the season, we can decide out of that 11 who isn't good enough and then replace them. And then maybe if there's someone on the bench that is good enough, maybe introduce them into the next season, but don't keep chopping and changing it week in, week out, because it doesn't help anyone. And I do agree with that. But like I said, for me, we all sat here, I think the majority of Evertonians anyway, I'd say, sat here when Marco Silva was appointed and said, whether you were happy with it at the time or not, I think we all sat here and said the guy needs time. We need to give him time, and we need to give him, transfer windows, we need to back him, we need to give him the money to bring in his players, bring in his philosophy, and more importantly, like I mentioned there, time. Because for me, Ronald Koeman took Everton Football Club back 5 years. He took us back 5 years by not being arsed talking to the players, not giving the players any respect, aka the Umar Niasse situation, and just being a shocking manager. Sam Allardyce come in, and you've got players that are saying, we didn't even feel like it was football that we were playing. That's Nikola Vlasic on loan now at CSK Moscow, turning it up, playing Champions League football against Real Madrid, turning around saying, oh yeah, when Allardyce come in, all the players felt like we weren't even playing football. That's 2 shocking managers in the last year at Everton Football Club. Year and a half at Everton Football Club. Like I said, I'm not going to mention Unsworth because, it'd be unfair to put anything on David Unsworth, I think. And then prior to that, the Martinez reign, which went down faster than a lead balloon as well. So I think it's important that we understand that this was a massive job, and we all sat, majority of us sat when Marco Silva was appointed with Marcel Brands and said, this is a massive job, this, And for me, I just struggle to understand how now fans are going. If you didn't want Silva from the start and you said, okay, I'm not really happy with that, he's not a born winner, he's not good enough, what's he done, and then you're still sticking with the same opinion, then fine, fair enough. If you've changed your opinion, fine, fair enough, an opinion's an opinion. But I think for me, to sit there and say we need to back him for at least 4 transfer windows and give him the time, and then 6 months later say results haven't been that good, sack him, it's just a little bit, make your mind up one or the other. For me, yes, it's frustrating, like I said. I get so frustrated coming home from Goodison Park, coming home from St Mary's, watching us on the telly and us just getting turned over and not even bothering turning up. I get frustrated, and there has been games where I've pointed at Silva and gone, you know what, that's not right, you need to change that, and you need to, stop being so naive with your managerial tactics. But that doesn't mean I want him sacked. That just means he might have got it wrong in that one game. There's been other games where I've gone, you got it really, really right today. And I think it's important that Marco Silva makes mistakes, and then he understands where he's made the mistakes, and he doesn't make them again, and he builds on it. I don't think there's any Evertonian out there, and I'm speaking for myself here. I'm just a kid that sits in front of a camera wearing an Everton shirt with a green screen talking about it. That's why I want to know all your thoughts in the live comments down below as well. Please, please, please let me know your thoughts in the comments, because it's important that as a fan base we talk about this situation, and it's important that you guys could, talk to me and interact with the chat with it as well, because I'm not speaking for anybody other than myself. I'm not speaking for Evertonians. I'm not speaking, when I say the most of us sat here and said we'll back him, that's because all the support on Twitter, everything I heard from every Evertonian, I know, certainly the majority of them said, yeah, we need to back him. I'm not saying, all us Evertonians said back him. Again, I only speak for myself. I don't speak on behalf of Everton Football Club. I don't speak on behalf of Everton's fan base. I speak for myself. And for me, personally, we need to give him that time, and we need to allow him to do that. Yes, it hasn't been perfect this season. Yes, in times it hasn't even been good. But if he goes tomorrow, who do we bring in? If he goes tomorrow and we bring somebody else in, does the leader situation that we spoke about in Monday's stream get sorted? Does suddenly some player step up and go, you know what, I'm going to drag this team through everything, I'm going to be the captain? No, it doesn't get sorted. That's a situation that existed before Marco Silva and will exist after Marco Silva. Again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that every Evertonian should back him, because if you've got an opinion, then that's 100% fair enough. And like I said, there has been some genuine concerns that have been raised about Silva's playing style on Twitter that I've gone, you know what, fair enough. You can't take away the fact that he hasn't won anything. You can't take away the fact that, Watford went that way after he was approached by us. You can't take away the fact that Hull got relegated. But I think you can have very similar arguments for other managers. You can have very similar arguments saying Eddie Howe hasn't won anything for Bournemouth, but he's taken practically, and I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but practically a Sunday League team in Bournemouth from League 2 to not even just the Premier League, for challenging for top 10, top 8 European football in the Premier League. Stadium holds about 20 people, and he's taken that. So what counts as more in the footballing world, doing that or winning a Carabao Cup with a top side, aka if Spurs and Pochettino won the FA Cup this year, or not the FA Cup, sorry, if they won the Carabao Cup this year, would that constitute to more of an achievement on Pochettino than what Eddie Howe's done for Bournemouth? I personally don't think it would, because Pochettino should be winning trophies with that Spurs team. Bournemouth are not going to be in a position to win a trophy, because if you look at the teams that have won the domestic cups in the last few years, it's been dominated by top 6 teams. And I've gone off on a tangent here, but I think it all works into the same point, is that you can't. For me, I didn't look at Marco Silva's track record and go, he's not the right man. I understand why some people did, and I understand why some people are saying, okay, now we think about it, maybe he's not. But for me, he just needs to be given time, and he needs to be given the backing that he deserves. You know, Farhad Moshiri's come out and said, you know, we've got full support of Marco Silva and we're going to back him. So I think either way, he's not going anywhere. Obviously, if you've got an opinion that you want him to go, share it, and, you know, let your voice be known. If you don't want him at our football club, and you've got valid reasons as to why that is, then that's fair enough. For me, I think it's right to back him. Moshiri's also come out and said, listen, I've spent 250 million on this squad. I'm not putting any more money in the pot. I'm not putting loads of money in the pot for January. Leaving Brands in a situation where he's saying, right, well, if we buy, we need to sell. And by sell, it's not loan Niasse out. By sell, it's get players off the wage book, sell them. And like I said, that doesn't help Marco Silva's situation, because now we're in a position where we're probably not going to make a signing in January, and if we do, it's not going to be a big money signing. So it's not like Marco Silva can just go out and go, bang, I'll buy a 70 million right back, I'll buy a 90 million pound striker, because he's already said finances are tough, and the situation that we're in at the minute means that we can't do that. Is that Marco Silva's fault? No, it's not. I'm going to go to the live comments now and have a little look at what some people are saying. John says if he's not getting any money this month, he should be given some kind of money in the summer. Yeah, and I do think he will be backed quite heavily in the summer, to be honest with you. I think him and Marcel Brands will get the money that they need in the summer, even if they don't get it this January. Mest says need to have some under-23 players to play if we can't sign anyone. Yeah, and I think the under-23 players, especially the lads that, you know, have been brought up, born Evertonians, they might bring that leadership, they might bring that fight, they might bring that passion into this squad. But, you know, on the flip side of that, you could say we've seen what happened with Tom Davis, we've seen what happened with Ross Barkley, players that come in and in their first 6-7 months were unbelievable because they showed that passion, they showed that fight, and fans started to believe in that, and fans started to invest in that. But then, you know, the next season and the season after that, when fans started to think, okay, you're not really Maradona, you're just a kid with passion, then the expectation comes, and then fans get on the back, and that's when the performances start to dip. But I would include some of the under-23 players if they're up for it, if they're good enough, then they're old enough. And that, you know, that saying's being used all over football. But for me, we need somebody with heart, and these players need to take responsibility for what's happening on the football pitch. Yes, you could say Marco Silva's coaching them, and yes, he's doing the team talks, but there's absolutely no excuse that when them 11 players walk out to Z-Cars, or when they walk out away from home with that royal blue jersey on, or the white one, or the black one, whatever. Is all of the kit black this year? I can't remember our away kit. Yeah, black and pink, innit, yeah? Or that one, or, you know, anyway, it's beyond the point. Again, I've gone off on a tangent. When our players walk out with that Everton badge on their chest, they should be given 100%, no matter what manager is telling them what. No matter whether Silva said give 100%, or Silva said, you know what, just waltz around. They should be given 100%, and they are expected to give 100% week in, week out, and we're not seeing that on the football pitch at the minute. We're not seeing that from the players. We're not seeing any heart. We're not seeing any passion. We're not seeing any desire to win football matches. And that, for me, you can only go so far as to say that's Silva's fault, and to say, listen, Sigurdsson, fucking pick yourself up, start doing what you're paid to do. Listen, Gay, you do the same, you know. And they're just two, for example. I'm not picking them two out because they've been poor or whatever recently. I'm just picking them out because they were examples. You know, that for me is on the players, and like I said, I firmly believe the result against Southampton was on the players more than it was on Marco Silva. Some fans will disagree with me, and that's what it's all about. It's about disagreeing. But for me, I firmly believe that is the case. Mitchell says the formation, the sub, Silva has to address these problems. That's why there's discontent amongst the fan base. Yeah, like I said, there have been issues with Marco Silva this season, and I'm not going to sit here and say he's been perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say, listen, you know, get off his back. Nobody's got any points to say about him. Listen, there's been issues. The substitutions have been an issue at times this season. The formation, chopping and changing, moving 5 at the back 1 week, 3, 4 at the back the next week, 3 at the back the next week, doesn't work, change it. He needs to stick with one formation and 11, aka 11 players, and if them 11 players aren't performing well, he needs to push them to perform well rather than chopping and changing. For me, he needs to go with, whether he goes Pickford, Dean, Mina, Zuma, Coleman, Gay, Gomez, Sigurdsson, Bernard, Lookman, Richarlison. He needs to keep with that and push them players to be the best they can be instead of chopping and changing week in, week out, because it's not going to help anyone, in my opinion. Where are we? Messi says, love Seamus as Coleman's heart, but he is shockingly bad that I would rather have Cuco Martina. He has been poor this season, but like I said, I don't think there's any Everton fans that don't love Seamus Coleman for what he's done for our football club and the fact that he's an absolutely unbelievable Everton legend for me. He really, really is, and it's sad to see the way it's going at the minute for Seamus, but that's what happens when, players that have had that many injuries and the injuries to the scale that he has had, that's what happens when they get older and they start to get towards the end of their career. These things naturally happen. EFC 1878 says, we saw how good of a manager Marco was in the weeks between Arsenal and Liverpool. It's clearly not all down to him. The players are low on confidence and it's reflecting badly on Marco Silva. I agree 100%. Joey Stanley Moore says, I just can't help but think that we should have got a Premier League proven manager like Arsene Wenger or Andre Villas-Boas. Our transfer activity in January has been shocking. You have clubs like Fulham making marquee signings like Prem Proof and Ryan Babel, and we have squat. Yeah, like I said, there will generally be Everton fans out there that said, listen, I wasn't happy with the Marco Silva appointment when it was made, and that's fair enough. That's 100% fair enough. If you're now sitting here saying, I wasn't happy then, I'm not happy now, and to be honest, when we were good, I was still a bit worried about it, then that's fair enough. You can't argue against that. That's your opinion, and that's 100% fair enough. If there was a lot of fans out there saying, we should have, gone higher, we should have looked higher, we should have looked towards a manager that's won something domestically or, a Premier League or whatever. But at the end of the day, for me, we've got Marco Silva now and we need to back him and we need to give him the time he needs. If we'd have had Villas-Boas, if we'd have had Wenger, we would have still needed to wait and we would have still needed to, give them time and give them the patience that they need. So let's do it with Marco Silva, and if he isn't good enough at the end of the day, then that will come out. If Marco Silva doesn't turn out to be the right man, then we'll soon start to see that in the next coming months and in the next year or so. But for me, 6 months in is just a little bit too early to judge him, especially when you're looking at performances like the Southampton performance and you're clearly seeing players that aren't trying and aren't looking arsed at all. For me, only so much of that you can blame on Marco Silva before you have to start looking at players and going, hang on, you're not even busting a ball here, when that's the minimum you should be doing. Where are we? And in terms of the transfer activity, yeah, I don't think that's as much on Marco Silva. I think that's more on the fact that, he's been told that we haven't got much to spend this January, and that's just how it is. But I would like to see us sign a couple of players. I'm not arguing that we don't need additions. We do. We're a million miles away from top 4, and we're 100,000 miles away from anywhere near the top 6 as well. We need additions. We need a striker. We need a right back. Probably need another centre half. Maybe another centre midfielder. We need additions to this squad. But, I do think we'll have to wait until the summer to see that. The Crusader says SPL is the new EPL, Scottish Premier League. I take it you're a Scottish Premier League fan. Fair enough. Don't watch too much of it myself, so I can't comment. Good Soul 12 says Silva is a young manager and is going to make mistakes. Hopefully he learns from it. He was always going to be a gamble, but we have to be patient. Annoying as it is, bang on about hard work with P. Yeah, 100%. Like I said, it was a gamble. It was, and at the end of the day, Marco Silva is the Everton manager now. So I think the least we can do is at least give him a year and a half, and to do what he needs to do with this squad. It wasn't going to change after 6 months. This is the rut that we were left in. It wasn't going to be fixed in the first 6 months. We've seen glimpses of how it could be, aka the Burnley result, the Leicester result away from home, Fulham at home, that run of form where we were playing really, really well. The derby at Anfield. When was the last time we played like that against Liverpool? Please tell me. And again, this is just a question. This is just me asking a question. Please tell me when the last time we played as well as we did against Liverpool. I know what happened in the end of the day, and I know it means for nothing because of the result and the fact that Jordan Pickford threw one in his own goal. But I have probably never in my lifetime, certainly never in the last 10 years, seen an Everton team go to Anfield and play like that, with ruthlessness, with confidence, and not afraid at all of the opposition that they're playing. And realistically, I'll say it now, sitting back and reflecting on that game, we should have won that game of football. If Gomez sticks his header in, if Mina sticks his header in, if Jordan Pickford doesn't make a slanger, we win that game. And I know you can say, oh man, I had the chance, this, that, but we should have won that game of football, and we didn't. And that is the type of game where you look at it and you go, Marco Silva got that really right here. Would they have performed like that under Martinez? No. Would they? In fact, they didn't. Did they perform like that under Allardyce, even though we got a point? No, they didn't. We hung on. Did they perform like that under Koeman? No. Martinez? No. They performed like that under Marco Silva. And again, for me, that's when it was really good. It's at a point now where it's quite bad, but I think there's other issues surrounding our football club rather than just Marco Silva that we need to look at, aka not having a leader. Where does a leader come from? How do we go about signing a leader? Aka, the situation at the minute surrounding not having a striker, surrounding not having a right back. Was Marco Silva to know that Seamus Coleman wasn't going to be good enough this season? No. Was he supposed to know that Cenk Tosun wasn't going to bang goals in every week? In the Premier League? No, because at the end of last season, Theo Walcott was on fire, Cenk Tosun was on fire, Seamus Coleman was playing decent football. Now these players aren't doing it, and we're stuck without these key positions covered, and I think that's what Marco Silva needs to address in his next transfer window. To be honest, I'm knocking this one on its head, because I don't think we'll get much out of this one, because personally I just think that, we're not going to sign anyone that's going to be, the player to take us to the next level. We may sign an improvement on Seamus Coleman, we may sign an improvement on Cenk Tosun, but we're not going to sign that player to take us to the next level. So let's see what happens in the summer in terms of transfers. Craig90 says we should be in a better position with the players we have, but the failure to get a proper striker hasn't helped things. Still a lot of work left to do, but Silva does need to improve things, and fast. We should be in a better position, and like I said at the start of the season, we're currently sitting in 11th in the Premier League, and for a lot of Evertonians, including myself, that is not good enough. 11th in the Premier League isn't good enough. Yes, we're a stone's throw away from 7th, but I was thinking about this before. Ideally, with the results that we've had in recent weeks, we should be, if 7th was a mountain, we should be on top, and not a stone's throw away. It hasn't been good enough recently, and 11th position in the Premier League is not good enough. Let me make that clear. I agree 100%. It's not good enough. If we have a decent FA Cup run and we get to Wembley, and who knows, maybe even we win the FA Cup, then for me 11th's acceptable. But if we don't, and we don't win anything domestically, aka the FA Cup, because that's the only competition we're in, then 11th isn't good enough. 7th for me is the bare minimum. 8th maybe, but 7th for me is the bare minimum if we don't win a trophy this season. If we win a trophy this season, then you can stick me 17th. I don't care. If we win a trophy, Everton haven't won a trophy in 20 years, and that should be our main priority, especially the fact that we're not going to get anywhere in the Premier League this season. But I agree 100%, 11th is not good enough. It really isn't good enough, and things need to improve thick and fast. I agree with you, Craig. Things need to change. I don't necessarily think that's all on Marco Silva, but I understand that some of it is. He needs to stop changing the team around every week. He needs to keep a strong back line, and that be it. Even if they make mistakes, carry on going with them. Talk to the players. Don't just say, right, you're coming out and you're going in. Talk to them. There are some issues with Marco Silva, but I don't think the issues are strong enough to say, right, you're not good enough, sack him 6 months in. He needs time, and he needs to be given that time and the patience from Evertonians to build this squad. This is a massive project. This is a project that, like Denise Barrett-Baxendale said in the AGM, is going to take us to challenging for the Premier League in the next 5 years. Going to take us to playing Champions League football. Is that going to happen if we keep chopping and changing our manager every year? No, it's not. Marco Silva said it in his press conference a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the press conference to it might have been the Bournemouth game. Yeah, I think it was the Bournemouth game. He said, we've had, it's not just about players. We've had 18 new players, I think he said, or something like that in the last 12 months. But we've had 4 new managers in the space of, 12, 18 months as well. 4 managers. We're not going to improve. We're not going to go to that next step if we just keep, ticking managers off and sacking them and bringing them in, because no manager is going to have time to settle and install their, philosophies and their ideas 100% if we keep chopping and changing and going, right, you're not good enough after 6 months, you're not good enough. So for me, we need to stick with Marco Silva until the point where we absolutely know he's not good enough, and that point will only come after we've given him the time that he needs to sort this squad out, because it's a massive job. It's a massive task for him, and it's important that we back him and we stick behind him. If you don't like Marco Silva, if you don't like the way he plays, if you don't think he should be the Everton manager, that's fair enough. Like I said, please do leave your thoughts in the live comments. If you're watching this as a video afterwards, please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below as well. It'll be really interesting to hear what you guys think. Please do leave a like on the stream if you have enjoyed it already. Like I said, these are just my opinions. I don't speak for anyone other than myself. I don't speak for you guys. I don't speak for Everton Football Club. I don't speak for the Everton fans. I just speak for me, and they're my opinions. opinions, and that's why it's important that you all give your opinion as well, whether it's to me on the stream or whether it's on Twitter or whether it's to the club. You all give your opinion, because at the end of the day, we are the most important thing in football, the fans, and to Everton Football Club, we are the most important thing. So we need to, if you're not happy with Silva, then why? Let us know, why aren't you happy? What's the reasons? And I dare say a couple of them reasons may be justified. If you are happy with Silva, what do you think needs to be done now? Where do we need to go to improve? Joey Stanley Moore says, I think that the next step will be to sign a level-headed player like a Robbie Keane or Jermaine Defoe, not only to supply attacking options and goals, but an experienced head to lead our side into war. I agree, and I don't particularly agree with the choices that you've picked, but I agree with what you're saying, and the sort of the message that you're putting across in terms of players that have got the experience, players that are class quality players, but are leaders as well. We need a leader in this squad. We really, really do need a leader. Robbie Keane and Jermaine Defoe are two fantastic examples of leaders that will lead by example and drag any team that they've played through thick and thin. Jermaine Defoe is a fantastic example, and I think, it's important that we go out and we get a leader. We bring somebody in that can do that, because at the end of the day, at the minute, we do not have a player that can lead on the football pitch. We don't. I don't think we do. I think, for me, one of the biggest issues that we have at Everton Football Club is who should be the captain. Who should be the captain? Seamus Coleman, we'd have all said last year, he's been given it and he hasn't stepped up. Gylfi Sigurdsson, for me, shouldn't be it, hasn't stepped up. Tom Davies isn't in the team enough. Baines, not in the team enough. Jagielka, not in the team enough. Who should be the captain of Everton Football Club, realistically? And if you can't think of an answer, then we need to go out and buy a player that can be the captain. We need to go out and buy a leader, someone that's going to grab other players and say, you know what, you're awful. You've been, not you're awful, that might be a little bit harsh. You need to improve. You need to get better. Look up. Use your head. Use your brain when you're passing. Don't just hit the ball. Come on, boys. Let's win this second half of football and not have that attitude of a team that you look at, from Monday to Friday in Finch Farm and the pitches of Finch Farm where they're all smiling and laughing, and then on a Saturday you look at and you think, these all hate each other. They don't want to play next to each other. They don't like each other. Why are they just waltzing around the pitch and acting as if they hate each other? Where they're at Finch Farm, they're acting as if they're all best mates. I think that's one of the issues, like I said, that we need to address very, very quickly. And if Marco Silva is the manager, he needs to address as well. That is on Silva and Brands. But like I said, it's not their fault that we haven't got a leader. But you're right in what you said. They need to address that issue. I think it was said it before. I think it was Craig said, you're right. There are issues at the football club that may not be Marco Silva's fault, but it's now his job to address that, and I suppose that's how we can judge Marco Silva in the near future. Mitchell says, okay, here's a question. End of the season board meeting, no trophy in 11th place finish. Does Machete start asking questions, or is it much too early? It's a very, very good question. Very good question. Like I said, for me, 11th ain't good enough, and the only reason it will be acceptable at the end of the season is if we won a trophy. If we haven't won a trophy and we finish 11th, I think there would start to be question marks in Machete's head. Again, I don't think he'd start asking the questions yet, and I wouldn't personally, because, listen, the thing I'm most important about, and I am most excited about, and I've said this from weeks and weeks and weeks ago, I want to see how Everton line up on the first day of next season, when Marco Silva's had a full summer last summer, a January that we understand not much is going to happen, and then a full summer into the summer coming up. And let's see how we line up at the first day of next season. I think you're right. I think Machete may start to wonder, how we're going to improve. But I think he'll then say, okay, this is what it was last season. This was nowhere near good enough. And let's see how you do in the first half of this season. Let's see where we are in January. Let's see how improved the squad is. Let's see what what players we line up with on the first day of the season. Let's see at Christmas where we are in the league, how improved we are. And I think it would then be into next season, past January, when the questions will start be asking if we're still in the same position, if we're still getting beat, at home to teams like, Leicester, when realistically we shouldn't be, if we're still losing points against teams like Southampton when we really should be picking up the win. That's when I think the questions will start be asked. For me, Good Soul says, what about Gylfi dropping a bit deeper with Gomez in the middle, Bernardo, Lookman in the number 10? Yeah, that is a really, really good point. Definitely something I want to talk about as well. Obviously, we all know the recent rumours about Adesina Gay and maybe his potential move to PSG and this and that. I'm not going to talk too much about it, because at the end of the day, no one really knows what's happening at the moment. No one really knows, whether Gay wants to leave, whether he doesn't want to leave, whether he's going to go. So I don't want to talk too much about that. But let's say, just for argument's sake, he does leave the football club. For me, I would love to see Gylfi drop back and play next to Andre Gomez, because I think there's a lot of pressure on Gylfi Sigurdsson in that number 10 role to constantly be providing goals, constantly to be providing assists, constantly to be that creative player. And I think Gylfi feels that pressure, and I think that affects his game and means that his passing becomes poor, his ability to, turn on the ball, his ability to dribble becomes poor because he feels that pressure. I think it's important that, we understand that Gylfi Sigurdsson is a really talented footballer, a class footballer, but at the minute he is in really, really poor form, and it's clear to see his confidence isn't very high at all. I think putting him next to Gomez and playing him a little bit deeper, and then, whether you'd have Bernard, whether you'd have Lookman in the 10, I think that would benefit Gylfi Sigurdsson. I really do think it would. Like I said, I don't know whether it will happen because Disagana Gay plays such a vital role there, and I don't know whether Marco Silva would want to move a Disagana Gay, unless of course he left the football club. We're just talking about now as it is and as he is at the football club. But I would be interested in seeing, Gylfi Sigurdsson maybe take a step back, maybe going into next season and saying, okay, this season Gylfi, you're going to play a little bit of a deeper role. You're still going to be attacking minded. You're not going to be a defensive midfielder, but you're just going to sit in the central midfield spot next to whether it be Gomez or whoever's there if we sign Gomez on a permanent. And you're going to, you're just going to be the creative midfielder that sits in that role rather than the number 10 that everyone looks to provide every single game. Craig90 says, I want to see how Marco does once he has his own striker. Exactly, and I think, that's something that another reason as to why what we should look at. He hasn't got a striker that he's brought in. He hasn't necessarily got a right winger, that he's brought in per se. Right back, he hasn't got his own one of. You look at the back defence and you think Deeney's brought in has been fantastic. Zuma has been, good. And Mina has been hot and cold. But in terms of that defence, he only needs a right back then, and that back four is his defence. If we sign a right back in the summer and then that back four still is leaking goals like a bloody fucking toilet every single week, then you can start saying, okay, this is your defence. And what are you going to do now? This is your defence. John says, would you take Mick McCarthy as a manager? Lol, no, definitely not. And Mitchell says, what's your opinion on Gomez's recent form and other display against Spurs? I agree. I think he was really, really poor against Saints. Sorry, not Spurs, against Saints. I agree. I think he's probably just... I don't know to be honest. I think again it's an issue where you're looking and thinking, why are we so void of confidence? We've just won 2 games on the bounce before Southampton, beating Bournemouth, beating Lincoln. Why are we so void of confidence? Why are the players so down? Why do we look so unenergetic, not bothered, not wanting to get on the ball, not wanting to press teams? Why is it like that? I think Gomez. I think it's important to understand that Gomez has played a lot of football since he signed for Everton. A lot of football, more football than he played at Barcelona, more frequently than he played at Barcelona. So it's important to understand that, and I think at the minute, Andre Gomez is probably just in a little bit of a bad spell of form, a little bit like Richarlison is, and we will see how good of a footballer he is and how class of a footballer he is once he breaks out of that bad spell of form and it becomes form, as the saying says. Form is temporary, class is permanent. So we'll have to see how Andre Gomez does in the next coming weeks and months, and whether he can break out of that poor run of form, and whether it is just a little bit of a bad run. But I think that's all it is for me. I think he's just struggling a little bit at the minute. I think he's just in a poor run of form because the team around him, the players around him, are playing poorly as well. Anyway, please do let me know your thoughts on the situation in the comments section down below, in the live comments. If you're watching this video, watching this team as a video afterwards, let me know in the comments section down below as well. It's a really, really interesting subject. Like I said, originally, a few months ago, well, not a few months ago, even a few weeks ago, I wouldn't have really spoken about this on a stream because I had the general consensus that at least 90% of Everton fans back Marco Silva. But the more I'm seeing on Twitter, the more I'm seeing on social media, the Everton fans saying, hang on, maybe he's not the right man. I thought, why not come on and speak about it and allow everybody to come on and have their opinion and to speak and give their reasons as to why he's not the right man. So if you're currently in the live comments, if you're watching this video afterwards and you don't think Marco Silva is the right man, leave your reasons in the comment section down below as to why he's not. I'm not going to sit there and say, leave your reasons so I can shut them down. I'm not. I'm open to them 100%. Like I said, this is a fan channel. I'm generally interested in to hear why you guys think he's not the right man for the job, if that's what you think. If you think he is the right man for the job, again, leave your reasons as to why and why we should give him the time that, for me, he needs. But, like I said, a fan's opinion matters, and whether you Marco Silva in desperately or whether you get him out the club now, it equally matters. As more one opinion matters as much as the other opinion, so it's important that we speak about everybody's. John Long says, hi mate, what do you think of Callum Williams, but I assume that's meant to say Wilson, from Bournemouth. Would he act and would you take Tony Pulis as gaffer? Knows the league and how to win. Had good seasons with West Brom and Stoke, mate. Cheers. Callum Wilson from Bournemouth. I think he's a very, very good footballer. I think he's a good striker. He can score goals in the Premier League. He's very strong. He's very agile. And, he is a very, very good striker. I would take him. Because I think, we need a striker desperately. And he is a good striker. But for the money that Bournemouth will want for him in January or in the summer, I wouldn't be paying upwards of 35 million, let's say, for him, because he's a massive risk, because he's had 6 good months in the Premier League, and it's a massive risk to go out and buy a player for that amount of money to not be guaranteed that he's going to have a season that is just absolutely shocking next season. And I don't think brands will do that, but I do think he's a good player. In terms of Tony Pulis, I wouldn't have him. No, I'm not a fan of Tony Pulis. I don't like him, never have liked him. As a manager, I just don't like his style of play. Yes, he knows how to win, and yes, he knows the league, but for me, I just don't like him, and I don't think he's the manager to take us to breaking into the top 6, to breaking into the top 4. Like I said, as Denise Barrett-Baxendale said, in the next 5 years, I think she quoted, we'll be challenging for the Premier League and we'll be in the Champions League. And I think it's important that that's either with Marco Silva or a manager that's good enough to take us to that next step if it doesn't work out for Marco Silva. David says the league position doesn't matter. We need a cut run for the fans and the players to rebuild the unity. The key thing for me, however, is how many players we can get out permanently in the summer. Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of it rides on the FA Cup now. I think a lot of it rides on Saturday against Millwall. We need to go out and we need to get a big result, and that is one game where we're not going to be able to hide. That's one game where the players are going to need to show their bollocks. They're going to need to go and say, you know what, we're going to fight for this win, and we're going to go out and show the heart of wearing an Everton shirt and being an Everton player, because if we don't, that's exactly what Millwall are going to bring. So if we don't show it, we could get embarrassed by a League 2 opposition, and that wouldn't be good enough, let's be honest. And I 100% agree with, we need to get rid of the deadwood. There is deadwood at our football club that need to leave to free up the wage bill. There's a lot of players that aren't even getting anywhere near this squad now that are on so much money. I'm talking upwards of 150 grand a week, and they're not even in the 18. We need to get rid of them, and that will make up for bringing players in, giving players a bigger wage that deserve it, and bringing new signings in as well, of course. Jamie O'Hare says Marco Silva needs for time. He needs to build a philosophy. I agree 100%. Mike Flynn says top analysis. Keep going. Thank you very much, mate. I do really appreciate that one. John says Wilson, mate. Yes. Mitch says Mick McCarthy and Tony Pulis surely are lined up. Yeah, I wouldn't take either of them myself, but they are managers that know the Premier League and understand how to win football matches against the odds, and I don't think you can argue with that personally. Rob says, hi mate, when are we going to stop being a soft touch, always bend over for everyone? Yeah, I agree. To be honest, I don't know. I hope it's soon, and I hope it's Saturday. Because if we're a soft touch on Saturday, like I said, we're in real danger of being embarrassed by a team that are in League 2 and not even doing well in League 2 either, may I say. So if we had a soft touch against Millwall and we go out the FA Cup, I think that will be a real eye opener, and that will be a time when you go, right, what is going on in it? Whatever the issue is, whether it's Marco Silva, whether it's players' confidence, whether it's players just not taking responsibility, whatever the issue is, it needs sorting now. And I think if we don't get a result on Saturday, that's what I think, will be the question being asked. Jamie says, I honestly don't believe Pickford is a top keeper, to be honest. I would go and buy Romero from United. I disagree. I think Pickford is a class goalkeeper, but I understand where you're coming from. Again, the mistakes he's made this season. Yeah, he has been naive in himself, but he's very, very young, and he's got a lot to learn. I think I would buy Romero as a backup, because I think we need a backup, let's be honest. Martin Stecklenberg is nowhere near good enough to be anywhere near our squad, so I think we need a backup, and he wouldn't be too bad of a backup, but I really, really like Jordan Pickford. I'm a massive fan of Jordan Pickford. Rob says, need a proven winner who has actually achieved success in the best league. I assume you're not talking about managers. Fair enough, exactly, fair point, and I'm sure a lot of fans will have a very similar opinion to that, and a lot of fans had a very similar opinion to that when Marco Silva was announced. As to that, he's not a proven winner, he's not a proven manager, he's not somebody that is good enough to take us to the next level. Again, that's fair enough. If you've got that opinion, please do leave it in the comment section down below. John says, we need leaders, and the only starter I can think of is Pickers in goal. You can see his passion on the pitch, and one of the best in the league. If we want to keep him, be good to keep him captain. Yeah, you know what? That's a very, very good point. And for me, I think as soon as you say Everton Football Club, name the leaders, Jordan Pickford pops out your head, and he does because he is a natural leader. I think I would lay off giving him the captain's armband for now because I just think he needs to focus on himself and his own game and improving his own game and getting the small, easy bits right about his own game before we give him the responsibility for the whole squad. But I think in the next couple of years, if he carries on improving and if he starts to get the command in his box, coming out and clearing the ball, making the easy saves, because he's okay making the hard saves, it's the easy simple situations where you go, what are you doing? If he can get all that right, then I think him as a captain wouldn't be a bad choice, to be honest. John says, do you think we could persuade Pep Guardiola to come, mate? No, I really don't. I don't think he'd even take a second look at us, to be honest, at the minute. Rob says, Pickford is class but needs to calm it down. We don't want him going down the Joe Hart path. Exactly, 100%. We really don't. Look where Joe Hart's at now. He's playing for Burnley. I don't even think he's getting in their team much, but I think it's important that, Jordan Pickford doesn't go down that path and, he improved because he is very, very young and he's got a lot in his tank and he's got a lot of years to go, especially as a goalkeeper. 24 years old he is. That's another 15 years maybe as a goalkeeper he's got in the highest league, so he needs to make sure he carries on improving and he needs to make sure that he's learning from his mistakes as well. Jamie says Romero wouldn't be a backup in my opinion. He would battle for number one and hopefully Pickford would improve and learn from experienced goalkeeper. Yeah, 100%. And if we were to bring Romero in or a keeper like that and he would be challenging Jordan Pickford and then in turn improving Jordan Pickford's game and making sure he cuts out their mistakes because he can't afford it, then 100% I would welcome a goalkeeper into the squad that does that. Because realistically, I think Martin Stecklenberg waltzing onto the pitch at half time for 2 minutes and just going bang, 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 bang and walking off and getting 70 grand a week, it's not doing anything for Jordan Pickford. So if we bring a goalkeeper in that, by backup I mean, isn't playing week in, week out, unless Pickford isn't playing, well, I think it's important that it's a keeper that is good enough to challenge Jordan Pickford, and that is going to improve Jordan Pickford. Rob says, does Big Dunk bring anything? A good player, yes, but coach, not sure. That is a massive, massive point, and that's something that I want to speak about on a different video. That's something that I want to dedicate a stream to, because a lot of fans and, a lot of fans close to me, a lot of friends say, Duncan Ferguson doesn't bring much to this Everton setup. He's been here now through 4 managers, yet we still haven't got a striker that can put the ball in the back of the net, yet we're still awful at defending corners, and yet we still never score from set pieces in terms of balls coming into the box. We hardly ever score headed goals, corners. So it's a very, very good point, and it's definitely something that I'm going to speak about in the future. Rob also said Tim Cahill, future manager or coach for us, definitely 100%. I'd love to see that again. Another player that epitomises Everton Football Club and another Everton legend. But anyway, that is going to do it for me for this last team. I could sit here and talk about Marco Silva forever, but yeah, like I said, it's going to do it for today. Please do leave a like on the stream if you have enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you're watching this as a video afterwards, leave your thoughts on Marco Silva. Do you think he is the right man to take us forward? If not, why? What do you think is going wrong at the minute at the football club? And if you do think Marco Silva is the right man to bring us forward, what needs to change? How do we go about bringing a leader in? Who should be the captain of our football club, and what does Marco Silva need to do in the next coming months and specifically next summer to take us to that next level? And if it's not Marco Silva, who do you want to bring in? Who would you bring in to replace Marco Silva? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you're watching this as a live stream, if you're watching this live, you're in the live comments, thank you all very, very much for getting involved. Like I said, massive, massive thank you for all the support and all the interaction as well. This is why I do it. Like I said, this is a fan channel. This video is as much about your opinion as it is mine. So it means a lot to me that you guys have come on and give your opinion and, spoken about your reasons as to why you either want to keep Marco Silva or why you don't want to keep Marco Silva. And like I said, thank you all very, very much for that. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second. We've just beaten 250 subscribers. So thank you all very, very much for that. Absolutely unbelievable support recently, and I can't thank you guys enough. Good Soul says we could analyse Everton to death. So many frustrations. Enjoy your channel. Keep up the good work. We could sit here until the day's dawn talking about Everton Football Club, and we'd still get frustrated at the end of it. But anyway, thank you very much, Good Soul, for the nice words. 100%. Thanks for everything. Jamie says, cheers, mate. Thank you very much, Jamie, for getting involved. John says, I think these foreigners like Niasse and Cenk Tosun can't hack cold weather, so get in someone who knows how to score in the Premier League, proven English, and wouldn't take too long to settle. I think we should bring somebody in that is proven Premier League goal scorer. I don't particularly think the nationality means too much. Example A being maybe a Diego Costa, maybe a Edin Dzeko. Two, obviously, foreign footballers, but know the Premier League and know how to score and would definitely improve our squad, in my opinion. Rob says, great video, mate. More please with Everton Dave too. Thank you very much, Rob, and I will try and get that sorted for you as well. And David says, nice one, Cam. Thank you all very much for the kind words. Thank you all very much for the support. Like I said, if you have enjoyed, please do leave a like on the stream. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Please do leave your thoughts in the comments if you're watching this as a video. I'll be in the comments replying to them all night as well. If you're watching this as a live stream, thank you all very much for the support. Thanks for getting involved. I'll be back on Friday for the game preview to the Millwall game. Like I said, an absolute massive game, and a game that we cannot afford to go out and not show any heart and not show any passion. So it's important that we go out, we go to win, and, you know, we show a bit of fight and we show a bit of grit. So let's see if Marco Silva's Blues can do that. But anyway, I'll be back around 6:30, 7 o'clock on Friday for that. Please do join me then. But anyway, that's it from me today. Thank you all very much for watching. As always, like I said, leave a like if you have enjoyed, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.